환영합니다. Welcome to K-Culture Dive, where we dive deeper into the heart of Korean culture with K-entertainment issues, AI culture news, and today we'll have our film expert coming in to talk about idol-turned-actors. And I'm your host, Kwon So-wa. Let's dive in. Joining me this Friday is our co-host Walter Lee. Hello, Walter.
Hello, Soa, and hello to our viewers watching at home. I'm Walter Lee, here to co-host next to Soa and give you the latest in Korean entertainment news.
Let's get straight into K-Enter News then, Walter. And starting off with the announcement of the documentary, the BTS documentary that's coming out, I guess, today. Tell us more.
Yes, I will. We've actually been talking about this over the last couple of weeks as well. So the BTS documentary called BTS Return premieres on Friday, so at the time of recording, that is today. And the documentary captures the boys' journey away from the spotlight, leading up to the moments just before they made their return as one group.
Well, I do remember seeing that preview and I got really super excited about seeing the BTS or the behind the scenes of BTS.
Exactly. So for those who haven't watched it at home, so the preview does open with scenes of fireworks, especially of the roaring crowd of the army filling a massive stadium. The members reflect as they candidly share their thoughts on coming back together in the hiatus caused by the military service. Now, the footage also vividly shows members gathered together working in the recording studio, obviously on their new album, Arirang.
So, Walter, what time exactly are we expecting the documentary?
Okay, so yes, we did say today. However, it hasn't come out just yet. We're expecting it at 4 p.m. Korean time, so that's just under 2 hours from now.
All right. Well, I'm going to catch it over the weekend,
Yes.
and I'm going to make sure to talk about it with you on Monday.
Will do.
Okay, but Walter, let's move on to a movie now. The film, The King's Warden, is continuing its unstoppable box office run.
Yes, you've made a very good point there. So I think the distributor from Showbox really wanted to put forward this movie, and on Wednesday they said that just in 50 days since its release, it has surpassed 15 million viewers, rewriting Korean box office records.
That is incredible. It seems like the momentum isn't slowing down at all, because honestly, I thought after the Lunar New Year holidays that things might be slowing down a little bit, but that's not the case.
I agree with you there. So I usually think that after the holidays, we usually see a dip, but right, released on the 4th of February, The King's Warden surpassed 10 million viewers on the 6th of March and then exceeded 14 million on the 20th of March, continuing its rapid box office success. Now, in particular, over the last weekend, it surpassed the records of Among with the Gods, The Two Worlds, as well as Ode to My Father, one of my favorite movies, rising to 3rd place in the Korean box office rankings. Now, the question is, can it break even more records? Because we are not seeing it slow down.
Right. We were actually talking about this since last year, whether this movie could actually reach the 10 million mark.
Right.
But it's far over that mark already. But we're going to mention this movie later on again and talk about the specific actor there as well. But last but not least, we're going to stay with an actor because there's a special exhibition that is honoring a special actor.
You're right there. So it is a special exhibition honoring the late legendary Korean actor Ahn Sung-ki. Now, the Jeonju International Film Festival Organization Committee will present the exhibition in its 27th edition to commemorate the beloved actor. He was a very beloved actor, the late Ahn Sung-ki, of course. Now, on Thursday, the committee announced that the theme of the Jeonju International Film Festival, this is also co-hosted with the Korean Film Archive, will be named the 조금 낯선 안성기를 만나다, which translates to something around encountering a slightly unfamiliar Ahn Sung-ki.
So it will be a nice opportunity for the actor's fans to remember him through this event. Well, thank you very much, Walter, for those updates, and see you in a bit.
No worries.
And now let's move over to our AI anchor Arang for more on the culture front. And she's actually got some very special news on a special award. Arang, tell us more.
Thanks, Wa. Here's your AI guide to the latest cultural headlines from Korea. Let's begin with our top story. Nobel laureate Han Gang has won America's National Book Critics Circle Prize for Fiction for her novel We Do Not Part. The book revisits a violent chapter in South Korean history, portraying the trauma left in the wake of the Jeju April 3rd incident. The MBCC described the novel as a profound meditation on creation and truth amid loss, calling it a work of blinding melancholy, bleak weather, and murmuring syntax that lingers like an atmospheric and arresting dream. We Do Not Part is Han's 2021 novel translated by Lee Yeowon and Paige Anaya Morris. The award is considered one of America's most prestigious literary awards, alongside the Pulitzer Prize and the National Book Award. Culture Minister Choi Hui-young on Thursday inspected the Hub City of Asian Culture project in the southern city of Gwangju and discussed ways to bolster support. Launched in 2004, the initiative aims to position Gwangju as a leading cultural hub in Asia by promoting exchanges of cultural resources among Asian countries. Initially a flagship project for balanced regional development, it has faced a recent reduction in scale and state funding, raising concerns over waning momentum. Minister Choi pledged swift action to help the project advance to the next stage and firmly establish Gwangju as a key cultural hub in Asia. South Korea's largest cherry blossom festival, the Jine Gunangje Festival, kicks off today in Changwon, Gyeongsangnam-do Province. In addition to some 360,000 cherry trees lining downtown Jine transforming the city into a sea of pink blossoms, the event features a wide range of programs, including a fireworks display, the Cherry Blossom Music Festival, and an air show by the Black Eagles. Ahead of the official opening ceremony, a victory parade reenacting Admiral Lee Sun-shin's triumphs and leadership during the Imjin War will be staged. Jin has served as a key naval base during the Joseon dynasty. The festival runs through April 5th. That's all from me. Turning now to a quick look at more K-culture stories making headlines today.
Daejeon, often called South Korea's city of bread, is drawing crowds with a unique taxi service for bakery lovers. The Bread Taxi takes visitors on a guided tour of the city's most famous bakeries. Our Jo Young-eun was there.
The city of Daejeon has turned its downtown bakeries into major tourist attractions, drawing visitors into a unique culinary experience. At the center of this trend is the so-called Bread Taxi, a unique ride that guides passengers through the city.
The Bread Taxi launched last November and gained popularity among brand enthusiasts as it tours famous bakeries around Daejeon City.
이 택시 운행은 어떻게 시작하시게 된 건가요?
I created this service for people who love Daejeon's bread. I hope it becomes a bucket list experience for all bread lovers in Korea, and, if I may be ambitious, for people all around the world.
The driver greets passengers at the station with a big smile, accompanied by bread-themed dolls. Passengers receive a welcome kit that includes a guidebook to Daejeon's bakeries, along with tasting plates, utensils, and wet wipes. Visitors are pleasantly surprised by the menu-style guide and foldable tables similar to those on airplanes. The taxi's first stop is a bakery that's famous for its egg tarts.
에그 타르트 3개만 더 줘.
The driver tracks each bakery's opening hours and baking schedules, ensuring passengers can enjoy freshly made pastries without waiting long lines or missing them altogether.
이 집에서 에그 타르트 다음으로 맛있는 게 얘예요. 피자. 피자빵. 요건 나중에 집에 가서 에어프라이어로 데워 먹어도 돼요.
A stop at one of the city's largest bakeries fills visitors with excitement as they show their passion for discovering new flavors. The driver explains the best menu items at each bakery, along with tips on how to best enjoy and store different types of bread and pastries. He even recommends unique pairings such as ramen and kimchi rice bowls.
네, 조합을 너무 좋아해요.
Passengers savor each combination at their own pace, fully enjoying the experience as they eagerly try the driver's top recommendations.
Once I got on, the driver was so kind. It felt almost like being with family, so I could relax, enjoy the bread, and have a great time.
As a city renowned for its rich bakery culture, Daejeon is attracting more and more visitors with these unique tourism experiences. 조영은, 아리랑 뉴스, Daejeon.
Behind their eerie smiles and fearsome faces lies a fierce, commanding presence. With eyes wide open, watching over centuries, these figures are Jangseung, Korea's guardian spirits. They were never just sculptures. Erected every few kilometers, they served as Chosun's road markers, a kind of ancient GPS. But their true purpose went far deeper, to protect the village. They stood as spiritual shields, warding off evil, disease, and misfortune, while watching over the safety of the people. Villagers entrusted the boundaries of their homes to the wooden Mok-Jangseung and stone Sok-Jangseung, steadfast guardians of the land. And among all these protectors, there was a leader, the Daejeon, commanding every Jangseung across the nation. In 1789, King Cheongjo paused on a treacherous mountain pass while on his way to his father's tomb. The path was notorious for tiger attacks and other deadly hazards. The king ordered 2 Jangseung to stand there, a male named Chonha Daejangun and a female named Chiha Yeojangun. Personally named by the king, they became the Daebang Jangseung, symbols of authority, courage, and protection. But time was harsh. Westerners misunderstood them as devil's pillars, and during Japanese rule, they were dismissed as superstition. Many vanished. Yet the spirit of Jangseung endured. Wherever they fell, people raised them again, reclaiming a tradition, restoring a sense of safety, and affirming their hope. Jangseung still stand tall today, silent but unyielding, guardians not just of the land, but of the spirit and heart of Korea.
One of the most talked about names in Korean cinema these days is Park Ji-hoon. With the box office success of The King's Warden, his presence as an actor is once again grabbing attention. Idol-turned-actors like Park Ji-hoon are now emerging as leading forces on the big screen. Today, we take a closer look at the meaning behind this shift with Jae So, filmmaker and professor from the Seoul Institute of the Arts. Welcome back, Professor So.
Hello, Professor.
Nice to be back.
So, as Walter earlier mentioned, The King's Warden has now surpassed 15 million viewers. It is amazing. So, yeah, we're going to talk about Park Ji-hoon again today, especially because we're seeing behind this scenes footage of him and also his emotional acting. So, how did you view his performance in this film?
I think Park Ji-hoon's really amazing in this movie. Actually, I didn't really go in with that much expectation, you know, but immediately I was kind of interested in Park Ji-hoon before because of his work in this series called Weak Hero. And that's a story about where he plays a nerd in high school and he has to kind of fight through the bullies. And I really noticed his acting was sort of like really kind of interesting in that situation, but bringing that performance almost to Daejeon as this kind of ousted king, it worked. And I think it was really brilliant piece of casting on Han-jun's part. And basically he's also said he just saw the role played by Park Ji-hoon and no other actor could have played this role. But I think in the theater, when I saw it with the audience, it was like people were really immersed in his acting, especially the ending. I don't want to give spoilers, but you know, a lot of like sad stuff is happening. And I kind of felt like he wasn't acting. I felt like he was really embodying the character, which is a perfect example of cinema acting, you know. So I think he's kind of transcended this moment, and also it's like a turning point in his career because I think now, for the first time, people are really looking at him as a performer for the screen. And I'm really looking forward to not only him as a performer for music, but I think there's so many more possibilities of movies and dramas that he could star in.
Definitely, and I especially love it when he has when he's about to cry, and he really has those tears and the moisture in his eyes right before he cries. So I think that's very special about his acting, is what I thought when I watched the movie.
Yeah, right. But meanwhile, let's change it up a little bit. In the film Mad Dance Office, Arin, she's from the girl group Oh My Girl, is getting a lot of attention for her acting skills as well. So among idol-turned-actors, who have you recently taken on the big screen? Like, are there any you're watching in particular?
Well, going to Arin's performance in the Mad Dance Office, this is kind of a remake of Shall We Dance, the Japanese film about sort of this kind of middle-aged man who finds pleasure in learning how to dance. And in this one, it has Yamera and Chae-sung and Arin. And Yamera plays sort of a civil servant who's like kind of a stickler for rules, and then she learns flamenco. So, so you have this, and then Arin plays her daughter, Harry, in the movie. And basically, I saw clips of the movie, but basically it's just amazing. Her performance is, again, sort of like Park Ji-yoon. She really changes herself into that character. You're no longer watching an idol star acting, but you actually see her personifying the daughter. And I think a lot of times these dramatic roles, sometimes it really hinges on one character. And then this one's really tailored to Yamera and Chae-sung, but Arin kind of shines through and steals the scenes in the movie because her acting really shines. And I think it's another example where I think performance across different platforms seem to work, especially for cinema with idol stars. So it's a really good example of that as well. Yeah.
Yes, definitely a pleasant surprise. And now it really seems that idol-turned actors are going beyond their name recognition and actually leading to successful box office numbers. But who are some earlier examples who made that transition well?
You can go way back to like Rain, but recent ones are, I think, for movies especially, it's Bae Suji from Miss A. She was in Architecture 101, and then Yoona, who's in the news a lot of times, and she has like comic timing. She's from Girls' Generation, kind of an older, the sort of the first tier of idol stars, but she was in Confidential Assignment, where she was with Yoo Hae-jin, who's also in The King's Warden, and so she plays his daughter. Or his wife's like sister, but basically she's really terrific in the role. And there's a movie called Exit where Yoona came out, and I'm thinking also of IU. We think of My Mister, Hotel del Luna. She was also played a very dramatic role in this movie directed by a Japanese director named Hirokaze. It's called The Broker, and I thought she was terrific in that. And of course, there's Im Si-won from Cheha. He's the attorney, Miseng. These are feature films where they really prominently, I think he's transitioned as an actor. And we were talking about Do Kyung-soo the other day from EXO. So he's been in a lot of movies, Cart, My Annoying Brother, Along with the Gods, The Moon. So I think basically the table is set now where a lot of sort of transitions happening between, I think I was talking about cross-platforming between performance on stage to the big screen. And I think more and more, I think audiences are kind of taking to these stars because they already come with a fan base, and they're ready to see them on another sort of screen doing a role. So.
I think IU is a very good example of that, as she not only still tours every now and then for her musical career, but she manages to keep dramas and movies also involved, and she's one of the biggest idols in Korea to come out of Korea. So for her to balance those two and still be as good of an actress as she is, I think she's doing that very well.
Yeah, I really have to agree with you because she's one of the top singers, plus also her acting is terrific, as also Professor Soo mentioned.
Exactly. And because of this change in direction for idols, do you think the casting idol turned actor actually affects the theatre audiences? So maybe, like you said, they had fans from their musical career. You think there's going to be more of those scenes?
Well, I really hope so, because right now, as you know, Korean cinema is suffering. So we kind of need to sort of pivot a little bit. And I think, there was a complaint earlier, about how there seems to be only just a handful of actors that are acting in Korean cinema. They get all the roles, like Lee Byung-hun. And, I think it's great that Yoo Hae-jin, who's sort of become he was like a glorified supporting actor, and now he has a huge role in, basically The King's Warden. Almost he's the main star of that movie. But I think with the idol sort of coming in with the fandom, and audiences at first were kind of skeptical of these people, wanting to act. But as I mentioned, all these stars like IU, they seem to transition into sort of like a chameleon into these roles. And I think the really interesting thing is that the sort of these idols want to be actors, because I think, this is my own thoughts, but you can't just be on stage like when you started in your teens and your 20s.
Right.
If you're transitioning into kind of your 30s and 40s, I think, all your joints are going to hurt a little bit. So I think it's better to sort of go into another kind of, mode. And I think it's also like it brings into everything that they're already doing on stage. When they're, performing a song, people are emotionally invested in that. So now they're concentrating their energy into acting. And I think it really sort of, works in that way if they just really try to do that. Yeah.
Right, but Professor Su, they do have that pre-existing image as that idol. So do you think that could lead to higher expectations or maybe bias when compared with maybe rookie actors? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of times when you have sort of actors that are of a certain caliber and an idol star comes out, there's a lot of people kind of nervous. And also, even though you have the fandom, the regular cinema audiences might kind of look at it like, what are they doing in this movie? But if you cast the right sort of idol for the role, I was thinking of Adin for the movie, or, Park Ji-hoon for, King's Warden. If you're the sort of like the producer or the director that casts the appropriate person, if you put maybe an idol star trying to play a doctor, all of a sudden it might not work. But I think if you cast well, and I think the other thing is that challenge of being critical, like the people like really looking at idol stars acting to see if they're really doing it. It really forces the idol stars to actually either take up acting lessons, or they really try to concentrate their energies into becoming sort of more a character-like actor, So I think a lot of times, I look at filmmaking, acting as in two categories. One is like you're a star, and everybody knows every time you're in there, you're the star playing that actor. Then you have certain actors that become the character. And I think idol stars kind of sit in the middle somewhere where you recognize them for their sort of like their musical sort of abilities, but then if they start acting really well, you start to like really look at their work, in an interesting way.
You talked about acting school there, but unlike the past, many idols today are receiving acting classes or character training even before they make their musical debut, maybe already like wanting to get possibly an acting job before their debut if it doesn't work out. But what kind of impact is this going to have, you think?
Well, the first generation of idol stars that kind of made the jump, they usually jumped into dramas on television, and they were kind of attacked by their bad acting. But I think it's becoming sort of the BTS model where, BTS is a group that started, and a lot of their sort of fandom started with social media, SNS, and sort of YouTube. And so, the company HYBE has a system where it's the world view. So basically you create a world for the idol stars, and in the world, there are different platforms. It could be webtoons, it could be movies, it could be, like dramas. And basically actors come out of that because they're kind of already trained to switch modes. And I think it's only in their interest to be cross-platforms. You have the same thing happening in Hollywood. You would have somebody like the Jonas brother, coming out in a movie, and people kind of at first they're like, what is the singer doing here? But soon they see that as sort of their persona as well. And I think right now the idol industry is changing, and they're realizing that maybe in their teens and their 20s they're making them sort of like really viable for the stage. But as they get older, and I'm thinking BTS is now sort of like the reunion, but you're really curious, are they all going to go separate careers as solo artists, or are some of them going to act? that's the next question. But I think that's definitely something the industry is like, preparing themselves for these days.
Now, we started with Park Ji-hoon. We're going to end with Park Ji-hoon. He's actually coming back with a solo comeback next month.
Yes.
And when artists balance both acting and music careers, what kind of impact does that have on their work?
I think it's a smart move because I think, in a way, you're cross-platforming into different sort of media, and having fan bases on both will keep your brand power sort of viable for a very long time. And even if we all get older, I think the idol stars of the past that were sort of like the sexy, gyrating bodies with incredible, their movements are just like something, a normal person can't really do, to when they're older, they're starting to act. I think your career will just kind of extend into like your old age, So I think it's a smart move to start doing that when you're kind of transitioning, when you still have the power and you're young. And I think Park Ji-hoon's a perfect example where I just see this guy sort of being successful for the next, 30, 40 years. It's kind of endless because he can succeed, putting out an album every year, or he could transition into movies. And right now he's also in a series that he's coming out at the same time. So these guys are really busy, for sure.
Indeed. He's very good at balancing and making those transitions from, for instance, 내 맘속의 저장 and to 이놈. So very different style. But thank you very much, Professor Soo, for your insights, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Professor.
You too. Thank you.
And thank you, Walter, as always. We're going to have you back here next week.
See you next week.
Thanks for watching and your interest in everything K-Culture. K-Culture Dive will be back on Monday, 2 p.m. Korea time. Have a culture-filled weekend and keep diving.